Welcome in to the Bitcoin Crypto Happy Hour. Cheers. I am the Crypto Bull God, so welcome in. This evening, for the happy hour, I am having... hey guys, make sure, hit the thumbs up button, drop a comment. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. You always have that one individual who is the first to tune in live, and I have a feeling I know who it is, so thank you for your participation in this live stream. So for today's happy hour, now if you follow me on Instagram, you would know at Crypto Bull God that technically I guess I'm having my second happy hour of the day. So definitely not looking in the next, definitely not looking to drink over the next course of the next day or two here. But this evening I am having Johnny Walker Gold on the rocks. Now, Johnny Walker Gold, there's a couple things that I want to relay about the glass and the drink. So this glass, I have a few of them. It holds a lot of importance to me. It's very invaluable. So those glasses, these Eagles glasses, they're classic. I mean, these things are from the 80s or very early 90s, maybe from around 89 to 92, somewhere around there. I believe you could get those glasses way back in the day. They were at McDonald's. McDonald's used to give a lot more things, do special things like that, where they'd give glasses away and stuff. Anyone who's in my demographic probably still can recall those sorts of things. But these glasses used to sit in my grandparents' dining room in a huge, I'm not sure what you call it, like a china cabinet. And my grandfather just had them like lined up in a row and had them on display. And, I always used to see those glasses when I would go over to visit my grandparents. We were always closer, generally with the family. If your family was anything like mine, you're always closer to one side of the family than the other, right? So we just spent a lot more time with my mom's side of the family. And so I was always around my grandparents, I had a very, very close relationship with my grandparents. And so as a kid, kind of growing up, I always saw these Eagles glasses in this China buffet display. And before I moved down to South Florida, which is hard to believe, that was 10 years ago this year. Before I moved down, I asked my grandfather if I could take some glasses with me, and he gave me like all of them. I mean, he gave me all of the Eagles glasses, which is not what I was asking for, but he gave them all to me. And he has since passed away a couple years ago. But so these glasses hold a lot of importance to me. I bring them out on Eagles game day. On Eagles game day, you will find me drinking out of these glasses, except for the Eagles logo. Kevin, who are you a fan of? I'm curious. No hate on the channel. I have respect for you unless you're a Giants, Cowboys, or Patriots fan. So please feel free to share. And the drink has a lot of importance to me because these were, oh, Jesus, Kevin. You need to get the fuck out of the chat room. No. Much love for the support, but I feel sorry for you that you're a Cowboys fan. There was something, I don't know, Kevin, if you follow me on Instagram, you should give me a follow, Crypto Bull God, if you're on there. But there was something that I shared on my story at one point that Jennifer Lopez has had more rings since like 1996 than the Dallas Cowboys, because she's gotten married so many different times. She's had a very interesting life from a zoomed out public perspective of getting married like 5 times. But she has more rings than Dallas since 1996, Kevin. So anyway, by the way, Kevin, did you know that in the NFC East, no one has won that division in back-to-back in consecutive years in the past 20 years? It hasn't happened since the Philadelphia Eagles, that little dynasty that we had there for several years. No one has won the NFC East back-to-back years, and Dallas won it last year. So this year may be our year. Or who the hell knows? Maybe there'll be a bunch of injuries to Dallas and Philadelphia, and like the Washington, can't call them the Redskins anymore because that's a no-no. The Washington Commanders might win the division. Who knows? But I am actually positive on the Eagles this season. I still haven't gotten to the story about the whiskey that I'm drinking. So anyway, so this Johnny Walker Gold label, holds a lot of significance to me because, and there's actually an empty, that's the reason if you look back here in the background, this empty bottle is the actual bottle I'm about to speak to. You know, in my profession, I don't know if you guys recall, but I'm an actuary, and I went through all these examinations I had to study in my 20s and going a little bit into my 30s. And when I passed my FSA exams, which were the higher level exams, my brother actually got me a bottle of Johnny Walker Gold Label. So the Johnny Walker Gold Label was reserved for those FSA exams when I passed them. I had a huge amount of Johnny Walker Gold Label. So that's what it always reminds me of. So, well, you know what? You're not a bad Cowboys fan. I appreciate that. You know what? Honestly, if Dallas was head and shoulders above the Eagles, I wouldn't be talking any shit at all. I'd be like, yeah, I don't like Dallas, but obviously your team is incredible, and you guys are going to win the division this year. We all know it. But yeah, I actually think that the Eagles have a well-constructed team this year to have a really solid chance at putting up around 12 wins, maybe going around 12-5. You know, the thing with Dallas is, and I'm not taking a shit on Dallas right now, I'm being very honest with you. The thing with Dallas is they seemingly have talent every year. I mean, they have a lot of talent, and they never seem to do anything with it, whether it's the head coach or whatever the situation is. They never seem to – there's always a lot of high expectations, you know, and they never seem to reach those expectations or get anywhere close to them. So anyway, one of the things that I wanted to get into for today's live stream, I had forgotten to do this in the last live stream. As you are aware, I was sort of out of commission there for a week. I wasn't available, and I said that the 1 week I was going to have to cancel. This was 2 weeks ago. I was going to have to cancel the happy hour, and there were some things going on with my health. There have been a lot of things this year. I'll tell you what. I never utilize doctor services. I never have to go for any reason. I'm very healthy. I take very good care of myself. I exercise regularly. I eat very healthy. I drink in moderation. I take no illegal substances whatsoever. I don't put anything questionable into my body. So I take very good care of myself. And this year, it's just been one thing after the other. I mean, I had an issue come up with my elbow. I had, as you guys know, a couple months back, I had this, not muscular. I had a, what the hell? What category does that fit in? The rare it's in a very, very rare condition that I got. And who did I go see? Neurologist. So it fell in that neurological area. I got a really weird condition that's rare, and thankfully overcame that really well. And then this past time, 2 weeks ago, I actually ended up going to the hospital, which as an adult, that's the first time I ever had to go to the hospital. It's the first time I ever stayed overnight, which was very frustrating. But the reason that I ended up going to the hospital was this, and this is why I want to share this story with you, because I think that hopefully at least one person it benefits. There's something that comes out of this story that it's helpful for at least one person, and that's this. I started not feeling well and sort of isolated the conditions to chills and having a fever and body aches all over and a sore throat. And so I went into an urgent, well, I was going to go to a minute clinic, but someone encouraged me to go to urgent care. So instead I went to urgent care, because I think the reason was minute clinic didn't have an appointment until like the next day. And I was like, all right, this is at the point where I need to go see someone. So I went into an urgent care, and I'm very active. I'm very proactive with my health. So when I go in to see a doctor, I do ask questions. I don't just take for granted what they're saying. But I think because I was just feeling so out of it, something I missed during that appointment, this is something you can learn from, to just always be cognizant. Always be cognizant when you go to the doctor. Just try to think, don't be afraid, and don't be hesitant to ask any questions you can ask. I had a sore throat. The urgent care PA did not even look at my throat. She took a quick, whatever it's called, a quick response COVID test, and I tested negative. And she said, well, I mean, hands down with your symptoms, I feel extremely confident you have COVID. We're going to give you a PCR test. You'll get the results in a few days. Just kind of sit tight. She never looked at my throat. And it's funny because when I left, I thought, normally when I've gone into in the past, if I go to the, Minute Clinic maybe once every other year and I say I have a sore throat, they test you for strep throat. She never even looked at my throat, which is crazy to think about because I said I had a sore throat. So anyway, this was on a Friday that I had gone to the urgent care, and what happened was, in particular, over the weekend, my throat just got much worse. It was extremely painful to eat and drink and just swallow, and so I went back to the urgent care on Monday, and I was a little irritated with her, the PA, because she took a strep test and it tested positive. And I said, why did you, I questioned her. I said, I don't understand why you wouldn't have done a strep test like when I first came in here. And she said, well, you weren't complaining of a severe sore throat, so I just didn't think it was necessary. And, she just had no accountability. The point is she never even looked at my throat. But let's get to the second part of the story in terms of how you can benefit from this. So what ended up happening when I went on Monday, when I went back and was diagnosed with strep throat, they put you on prednisone, which is a steroidal inflammation reduction for your throat, and then they also give you an antibiotic that I was on, a heavy dose of antibiotics, which had some adverse consequences. So I'll leave it at that. But she said, you're going to be feeling much better by tomorrow. Well, Tuesday came and I wasn't feeling better, and definitely... waking up on Wednesday was really the point where I knew something was like really wrong, because I had my throat hurt so much that I could, like a little ibuprofen, a little small pill, I could not get that down my throat. It was very hard. And I also started having a little bit of, what's up, Brendan? I also started having a little bit of shortness of breath. Like I couldn't breathe. It was hard for me to breathe. Now that's scary. I live by myself, so I don't care how big and strong I am or whatever the case is. Especially if you live by yourself and now you're having the condition, whatever condition you have, you're starting to have difficulty breathing. That's a little scary. So I acted on it immediately, and this is what you can learn from it. If you have something going on with yourself, trust your gut instinct, okay? It's a really good thing that I made the decision to go back to urgent care for the third time. They ended up giving me 2 shots, 1 shot on each butt cheek, which was interesting. But the heavy anti-inflammatory treatment, whatever it was that they gave me, really reduced all the inflammation, and I started feeling immediately better in 45 minutes. But what the PA said to me was, hey, if you wake up or this doesn't get any better, like you need to go to the ER right away. That's what she told me. Because you probably have abscesses in the back of my throat. Well, lo and behold, I wake up the next day, I'm in pain again and all this stuff. So I took her advice and went. That's why I went to the ER, to a hospital. And I'm not going to go into all the things, what I learned going to a hospital. I was actually in 2 hospitals. They had to I drove myself. I had to go to a second hospital because they didn't have an ENT, ear, nose, and throat doctor at the hospital I was at, which was ridiculous. I definitely identified a lot, and this is no knock towards nurses and doctors. I met a lot of really nice people in the healthcare system, a lot of people who I respect and did the best job possible they could. They were very friendly with me. Okay, it's no knock against them, but definitely identified a lot of inefficiencies just in general going through a hospital system that were crazy to actually witness firsthand. But so getting to the punchline of why I was out, I had abscesses in the back of my tonsils called, I forget what it's called, but they're abscesses that they need to go back there manually and stick a needle in there and draw out the pus from the abscess, which was really cool to see. Not too painful. It's not as painful as it sounds. I mean, they have to numb the back of your throat, and then they go in there and start jabbing around to try to find it. It's a manual process, like I said. But that's the reason I was out. It was a very painful experience that week, and I actually spent a little bit of time in the hospital overnight and was quite vocal about wanting to get out. One of the funny stories from the hospital was, I live a very active lifestyle. The first thing when I get up in the morning and I start work very early in the morning, and I'm also, you see me on Twitter, right? I post charts on Twitter. But right after that, I'm working out. I'm in the gym for like 2.5 hours, okay? Every single freaking day, all right? So when I wake up in the hospital, I'm laying in a bed at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with myself? I'm bored out of my mind. I'm not just going to sit here and watch TV for the next how many hours. So I get up, I take off the gown. I thought it was even, I know it's hospital protocol. I know they have to do their job, and I gave no one an issue, but I found it even funny that I had to get wheelchaired up to my room because I was completely capable of walking, but that's just protocol in a hospital. But anyway, the first thing I did is I took off the gown and I put on my regular clothing to feel like myself, and I just started walking the hallways. I must have done like 500 laps. I was walking for like 3 hours. And one of the nurses told me that I was making her feel anxious walking around. So that was pretty funny, but it was an interesting experience. So I think there's kind of two things you can learn from this experience, and this is why I wanted to share it with you. Number one, make sure that you're very proactive with your health and interacting with your doctor. Yes, they are a professional in their field, but you know how you're feeling, and you want to make sure to ask all the questions that you should be asking, okay? Missed opportunity, it's her fault. It is absolutely the PA's fault for never looking at my throat. She should have owned up to that. But I also take some part ownership in not properly assessing that at the time while I was at the urgent care facility. I should have thought of it. I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. And the second thing you can learn from this is that, that's a good whiskey. The second thing you can learn from this is that if something really feels off, so if a doctor gives you a course of treatment and they're saying you're going to feel better, and you're not feeling better and you're starting to feel worse, trust your gut instinct and go back in to be seen by the appropriate form of healthcare. Don't mess around with your health. You can be the strongest person. You can be the most healthiest person. I am extremely healthy and fit. I feel, however old I am, I feel like I'm like 22. I mean, I feel great. But it doesn't mean that you can't catch a condition or have something exacerbated in your body if not properly diagnosed at the time of onset that might result in a serious health condition. They had told me actually that had I not sought medical treatment, what the risk was with the abscesses is they can actually get so big, it could grow overnight where you can't breathe. And then you're in a point where you're dialing 911 and needing to be incubated and having a tube shoved down your throat. So thankfully it never got to that point, but got serious enough that for me to drop everything I'm doing and go into the hospital. I mean, it was a serious situation. So that's what was going on 2 weeks ago. So fingers crossed. That's gonna be the last thing this year that happens. I will say that this year has had a lot of adversity, more than I care to share. So much going on, so many crazy things and challenges to, got a little kink in the neck. So many challenges to overcome this year, but I'll tell you what, I think it's important, everybody here listening, thank you for tuning in. By the way, hit the thumbs up button. Drop me a comment in here. We are going to get to crypto at some point here, and we're also going to get into the TA Q&A. But everyone listening here has had their own form of struggles, right? And something that really bothers me is when I'm interacting with someone and they want me to just play that violin for them and have a pity party for them because of something they've been through. Everybody goes through difficult times. Everybody through one form or another faces adversity, has things come up in their life that are just unexpected, puts themselves in situations they never should have. It's just, I think, important to self-reflect and understand why some of the situations we've gotten ourselves in, we got in. I think it's important to just remain positive and really not lose perspective on all the things you have to be thankful for in life. Because as much as this year's it's been a pretty rough year in many ways for me personally. I've had a lot of great years. Like 2021 was an incredible year. 2020, despite all of the lockdowns, 2020 for me was a great year. 19, great year. 18, great year. 17, incredible year. So, but it's all a matter of perspective and really recognizing that everybody goes through hardships in life, and those tough times will not last. They won't. But tough people, I really do believe this, tough people will. And to just not get cynical about that stuff and remain positive. But sometimes you know what you got to do, and people really, some people just don't understand it, and it's okay. Sometimes you just got to filter out a whole lot of stuff. You got to filter out a whole lot of stuff. You may need to filter certain people out of your life to get through certain times in your life, and they just need to understand that. But yeah, no, we are going to finish out the year strong here. I can't believe it's going to be September. We are getting into the fall time. I mean, we're getting into fall time here. And I mean, I can still clear as day remember a year ago where I was at this time. So it's crazy to think about. The holidays are going to be here, Thanksgiving, those who celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah. All that stuff is going to be here before you know it in December. Like, the year is definitely flying by. And bringing it back to crypto, there isn't anything that I haven't evaluated in the charts and shared with you guys that still doesn't leave me feeling that I'm still in the camp that I feel it's more likely that we are going to see mass appreciation going into next year in 2023 and seeing some really big movements in cryptocurrency. Now, the crazy thing about that is you look at stuff like this, and if this is what you are paying attention to, then you don't feel this way. You're getting emotional, and you think that what you should be doing is completely sitting on the sidelines and not being invested. Now, when I was in my early, mid, late 20s, and I think just over 30, and I think that was the cutoff point for me when I got out of listening to him. I used to listen to actually Jim Cramer. I used to watch his show all the time. I got his one book for Christmas from my parents, I remember. But I feel like I've wisened up over the years very much. And I, in many ways, think he's a clown. There's someone I follow on Instagram, and it's Inverse Kramer. So basically, the premise is he has so many bad calls, you want to make sure you're doing the inverse of what he says. He was coming out, I think, several weeks back saying that the bottom was in June and that people should be investing. And I was like, no, please stop. We want you to say the time is not to buy because you're generally wrong with your calls. But he's coming out and trashing crypto, and he says cryptocurrencies and all speculative assets to stay away, and he's very wishy-washy when it comes to cryptocurrency. If you've ever heard him interviewed on the subject, it's very obvious that what he does is he likes to present himself in a way that makes it sound like he knows what he's talking about when it comes to Ethereum or Bitcoin, but he doesn't have any fucking clue what he's talking about. I don't know why a person that is in this position of power, and when I say position of power, what I mean is I don't know how someone who has this much media attention doesn't feel a sense of responsibility and obligation to just be honest and authentic and say, you know what, I really don't know a ton about cryptocurrencies. And once I've done some research on it, then I'll feel more comfortable kind of speaking to it and giving you my opinion on it. It's very clear when you listen to him, he hasn't done any research. He's still making an argument for cryptocurrencies because you can't touch it or feel it, that there's no value associated with it. I mean, these sorts of statements are just going to look so fucking ridiculous years out from now. I mean, it's like the people when you would go on ABC News, was it? Good Morning America, and they were talking about email on the internet and no one understood it. You had David Letterman interviewing Bill Gates, making fun of Bill Gates because he was listening to a baseball game on the internet, and that's crazy because I have a radio, and why would you read news articles on the internet when I have this nice paper magazine right here? I mean, these people are going to look like fools years from now. So I would encourage all of you who are in this space to continue remaining strong and don't get shaken out and keep doing your due diligence and education. And it's people like you and people like myself who are really aiming to spread valuable knowledge about such a young and immature space that has so much potential, that are really the pioneers and the people at the forefront that are really going to continue to make out well. One of the things I personally have done, and nothing speaks to this more than during the lockdowns, I have personally completely weeded out legacy news media outlets. I think it's the only time I will listen to a legacy news media outlet like a Fox News or a CNN is just to hear the garbage that's coming out of there so that I can understand what the popular narrative is that's being spewed among the many mindless individuals that are going about their day-to-day, not paying attention to the biases that exist within news media. That's the only time I listen to it. But besides that, I always evaluate my own personal opinions weighed against alternative news outlets. Like for me personally, have I said the word personally so much? Do you ever use words in a sentence that are understood but you say them anyway? Like for me, when I'm speaking to someone, one of the words that frequently comes out of my mouth is to be honest. Like, to be honest with you, honestly, I'm always honest. Not that anyone hasn't ever told a lie, but if I'm having a conversation with someone, I'm going to be honest with them. So that should be understood. I don't know why I say the word honest, but I keep saying the word personal. So anyway, like for me personally, there we go again. Like for me, it just comes out so naturally. So for me, when we were going through the lockdowns, there were kind of two things I was doing. One was I stayed laser focused on crypto, and kind of that was my zone on Twitter. I didn't go outside of that because there was a lot of negativity and hatred and just so many bad things out there that I just stayed away from it. And I stayed in that center of news media, and I didn't want to listen to all that negativity and all that stuff that was going on. Like I did what I felt I needed to do to protect myself and also the person I was living with at that time, based on information from trusted factual publication sites like the CDC. You got to turn somewhere to and use my own train of thought to exercise what I thought made the most sense to be in the right place at that point. Hey, for everyone new joining, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and drop me a comment. I would appreciate it. But the other thing I did is I tuned out. I've tuned out the legacy news media outlets, completely tuned them out, and I went to alternative sources of news like Joe Rogan. I'm a huge Joe Rogan podcast listener. And that was going to get me into something else that I wanted to mention today during the happy hour, which is if you're not listening to Joe Rogan on Spotify, I would highly recommend it. He has a lot of good guests on there. I saw Dave Mustaine from Megadeth was on there. I'm going to have to give that a listen. He had Mark Zuckerberg recently. And I used to listen to his podcast all the time. I've kind of gotten off of it the past several months, just because focuses have shifted in other areas. You know how some things are hot and cold as you kind of go, and you might watch or listen to this, and then you get cold on it for a couple months. Hopefully not my channel, though. Hopefully not my channel. You never get cold on this channel. But he had a really good podcast with Aaron Rodgers, quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, and I could not stop listening to it. It was so good, and I would encourage you to listen to it. One of the things that came out of that podcast that is really interesting, and I'll get to the comments here in a minute, there were so many interesting parts of the conversation that he was having with Aaron Rodgers, but I thought one of the pieces that I really related really well to was, a lot of the things they were talking about with the beer virus. A lot of things they were talking about with the beer virus, I completely agreed with. But there was one thing in particular they were speaking to that I know at the time that the beer virus was going on, I was saying the same exact thing. I was like, why are we not doing this? Has anyone here ever noticed when you kind of look back, when we go back in time and we actually look at how people were in charge, how government officials and all these people handled the situation, which I think was piss poor, but how they handled the situation. Did you ever notice that there was so much social and peer pressure to get a vaccine? You need a drug. Like, you need these drugs. You need this vaccine. No, at no point At no point was there anyone in a position of power who had influence within the media who came out and said, hey, if there was ever a time to wake up America and start exercising and getting off sodas and drinking water and eating healthy and living an active lifestyle, these things will help you to overall be healthy. And so not only is that good for your long-term prospects in living a longer life, but it's also going to help you in the event if you get the beer virus. Because I can tell you as a life actuary and looking at the hard data, that a lot of the people who died from it had comorbid conditions. Couldn't think of the word there for a minute. They had comorbidities, what are known as comorbidities. A lot, not everyone, but a lot of the people, it wasn't just age, but a lot of the people, you're talking about people who were diabetic, people who had pre-existing respiratory issues, people who were hypertension was another big one that exacerbated the onset of it. So it's just, to me, it's just so much common sense that if you're in a position of power and you're going through something like that, why you're not advocating for people to, live a healthy lifestyle and do all these things to help fortify all this. So if you get the beer virus, you're better able to combat it. And one of the things I joked about at work, I could not believe it. And I said, there's nothing that speaks to fat America more than this, that to entice people, I don't know where this was located at, if this was in the location of where the site estate of the company I work for, or where this was at, but they were encouraging people to get the vaccination by Krispy Kreme was giving out free donuts. Like, there's nothing that speaks to fucking fat America like giving out free donuts for a goddamn vaccine. Like, it's sad. Like, it's just sad to me. So anyway, for those just tuning in, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and drop me a comment here, subscribe to the channel. I was just talking about the Joe Rogan podcast with Aaron Rodgers. If you haven't watched that or listened to it, I would encourage you to listen to the Aaron Rodgers Joe Rogan podcast. It was a great podcast, really great podcast. So let me get to the comments here. Let's see what we got. Most people against crypto have absolutely no idea about the utility aspect. Yeah, Brendan, so I agree. I mean, you have to, if you really take a step back and think about all the addresses that exist out there for just looking at Bitcoin, fat America, it speaks to how early we are when just talking about Bitcoin, but there are so few people in it. And even some people who have an address and have Bitcoin probably don't understand it to begin with. But most people just don't have a freaking clue. I've often wondered, would it be beneficial as a community to get away from, it's so ingrained now, we're not going to be able to at this point, I would think, but would it be beneficial to get away from the term cryptocurrency, because we're not really talking about currencies here, right? And would it be better, to Brad Garlinghouse's point from Ripple, to call them what they really should be, which are digital assets? So if these things were called digital assets, perhaps the perception might be a little bit different. People in general behave similarly through stages of life, no matter what they're confronted with. You can see patterns of behavior showing up. People have a surface level understanding or no understanding of something, and they're very quick to judgment. It's the same thing judging a book by its cover, right? You see someone, you automatically judge them without even knowing anything about them. I am very familiar with that one. So, I just think that people have a very surface level understanding, and then there's the herd mentality too. It's well, this person feels this way, and I'm going to gravitate towards this because I respect this person, and they think this way, and so I'm going to think this way. And clearly, very few people have a deep understanding of the digital asset space. Thank you for everyone who is recently showing up. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. I don't know why I just spoke like that. Kevin. Oh, there's no question that there are hidden motives behind the scenes in terms of people losing power and losing financial prosperity through the advent of cryptocurrency technologies or digital asset technologies. I mean, look at one of the best examples I can think of off the top of my head. Look at remittance payments and look at what Ripple is looking to do with the technology they have, but also specifically what they're looking to do with XRP by removing the Nostro Vostro accounts. And if you don't know what I mean by Nostro Vostro accounts and the use of XRP to interchange different forms of currency at lightning speed with zero fees, nearly zero fees, you got to look that up. Check out the Duran. All right, Brendan, I'll check that out. Not sure what that is. Yeah, so, I mean, other things going on this week. I'd be curious. Oh, by the way, this is a happy hour. I have not seen anyone comment what they are drinking for happy hour today. Just as a reminder, I am having this delicious Jack Daniel's Gold label on the rocks here, which is almost out. So what is everyone having for happy hour today? I actually wanted to do this happy hour tomorrow. I wanted to kind of settle on Thursdays, but I have plans tomorrow, and it looks like I might have plans on Friday. I'm like a little social butterfly here. I have plans on Thursday and Friday, tentatively Friday, but I have plans tomorrow. But does anyone who's listening right now, I'm curious, I know the times, it is a little early depending where you're located, but from a day situation standpoint, this is supposed to be a happy hour, so it's supposed to be after work, so the time does make sense. But from a day perspective, does Wednesday or Thursday work better? Like, does anybody have a preference here? Because I know I took a Twitter poll, didn't get a ton of, I think only like 30 people voted. Sydney else is usually 8:25. You have coffee, my friend? Put a little Kahlua in there. Kahlua and coffee is very good. I have not made an iced coffee in a while. I need to make an iced coffee. I used to make these iced coffees. Used to make these iced coffees. I haven't done it in a little bit, but what it was is you take a blender, throw a ton of ice in there, put a little iced coffee in. You can go to like we have Publix here. Go to the grocery store, get the cold coffee, like a cold brew coffee, like a Starbucks. Throw some dark roast that in there. Throw some coconut milk or almond milk in there. Throw some Kahlua in there. And then put a little vanilla protein powder in there for flavoring. You can also put a hint of vodka, just a little hint of vodka if you want it a little stronger, but that's very, very good. So Frankie, you go with hump day, huh? All right. Actually, honestly, from a going out perspective, I prefer going, if I'm going to go out like on a Wednesday or Thursday, I kind of like going out on a Thursday more because the next day's Friday, So if I can do a happy hour like in at my place and do this on a Wednesday, honestly, it works better for me. So, well, I appreciate the support. You watching, even if it's recorded later. Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine how challenging it must be. If you have kids, especially like I do not have children, so if you're balancing the work life, and if you have a spouse or partner, and you have kids, or even if you don't have a spouse or partner and you're a single parent or sharing time or whatever, that's a huge responsibility and comes first, right? So I appreciate you making the time for this channel. Really, it does mean a lot to me that you make time for the channel because. Real passionate about this stuff, like I always say, and I really, I'm just looking to help everybody out, and I'm just going to continue doing this as long as I am still passionate about it, and as long as it still feels like people are benefiting from it. So I don't have any aspirations of leaving anytime soon. In fact, the current goal is to be doing this a lot more frequently and being a lot more in the crypto space at some point. So we'll see how that goes over the next year or two. You know what? The only other thing I wanted to share with you. Nice, Brendan. Okay. Hey, maybe she'll pick something up along the way. You should get her started early on crypto. Create a little crypto fund for her. If I had a kid, oh my God, if I had a little boy or a little girl, I would start a fund just for them, a cryptocurrency fund, and it would just be for them when they would get old enough where it made sense, whether to go to college or whatnot. Yeah, let's not get started on college and the loan relief bullshit that's going on. Terrible. The only other thing I wanted to mention before we start getting into some charts and covering a few things, and I take some TA questions, The only other thing I wanted to mention is this past weekend I did something for the first time. I actually went to a gun range and went shooting, which was pretty fun. My time got cut short because we were waiting an hour and 40 minutes until we could actually get into the range, which was frustrating. And I had plans afterwards, so I couldn't stay long. But anyway, I did shoot off a few rounds of just like a Glock handgun. Started off with that. It was pretty cool. It was an interesting experience. And then my buddy had like not an AR-15. He had some sort of rifle. If I texted him right now, he would know. I'm actually curious if there's any gun enthusiasts out there. I'm not a gun enthusiast. It was fun to do. I'll do it again. But I'm curious, that second gun that I shot where you look through a scope and it was pretty fun. What was the second gun I shot? The rifle. Or shotgun or whatever. Well, it wasn't a shotgun, the rifle, whatever. Anyway, so I did that over the weekend. It was definitely some fun. I told my friend that, I definitely would like to go out and do it again, and we go out for some drinks afterwards. So it was a good time. I actually, to be honest, it was one of the, there I said it, see, to be honest, for all those that were here at the start of the live stream, it actually has been on my mind for like, ever since I moved down to Florida, that I felt that it would be responsible and a good idea, especially if I ever have a family someday, if that ever happens. Especially if I'm with someone or whatever the case is, there's crazy things that happen, right? So I have been having some form, not a longing, but a desire to be properly trained in how to use just a basic handgun for home defense if it, God forbid, ever came to that. Because shit happens and you want to be in a position of power that if something happens, you're not fucking taking down anybody in my house, and you're not, most robberies that, most people that break in, they want to be in and out. They want to get in, they want to take what they can and get out. But you run into that 1 in 1,000 chance where somebody breaks in and they're looking to do harm. I'd rather be prepared than not prepared. So this could perhaps lead down the road of me getting some classes and being properly trained and maybe having a handgun in the house, because especially in Florida, like, shit happens. So I don't think I'm ever going to turn into the person who goes out hunting or goes to the gun range every week. Like, I'm not a big gun person, but I think properly being trained with it makes a whole lot of sense. So so we'll see what turns out of that. So when you don't say, to be honest, should we trust you? I don't know. It's up for you to decide. It's just a common thing I say all the time. Hey, by the way, here I am at Crypto Bull God on Twitter. If you're not giving me a follow, make sure to give me a follow. All right, let's get into the charts. So, let's get off this RSI. So this video, let me see if I can quick pull this up for you guys. There was a video I put out. I've been tweeting about it, and oh, look, I'm live. I just went to my channel and I'm live. There was this video. Let me see here. Who's this shirtless asshole? Like, what's up with that? So, but some people think that. So there was this video. Yeah, it's this one. The Bitcoin bull is back. So you're going to want to watch that video if you haven't. By the way, the gun that I was trying to think of that I shot off at the gun range after the Glock, it was an AR-15. That was fun to shoot. It took me a while to see the laser through the scope. But the AR-15 was fun to shoot. That definitely, I could go for that again. It was there's something exhilarating about it. It was a good time. So the Bitcoin bull is back. You're going to want to check that out. In that video, what I do is I speak to 3 charts and 3 steps of things you want to watch for. You just check it off, step 1, step 2, step 3 in chronological order to feel convinced that we're truly going to begin to see some bullish momentum sustain itself, and we're going to see large, not small, not medium, large appreciations in price. Okay, so check out this video if you haven't. But in that video, the step one, what it does cover is this 12-hour chart. There's really, in my opinion, now you can zoom out and look at a monthly or 2-week chart if you want to kind of gain a perspective in terms of if you feel there's more major downside. You can certainly do that. But in terms of having a chart pulled up and asking the question, is true bullish momentum really picking up? Like, do we have anything to really get excited about? The 12-hour chart, in my opinion, is the chart to pull up. And I posted historical views of this chart and the data points and why that is the case. John, good to see you, my friend. White Russian, cheers, buddy. Good to see you. I was looking for you. In terms of, where was I going with this? Oh, the 12-hour chart. So, and I have some videos up there that speaks to the historical significance of the chart, and when we have death crosses and candle body closes below the 200 SMA, and that's something you're going to want to watch because I really put a lot of effort into that, and there's just factual information that's laid out giving you probabilities of certain things. So I would encourage you to check out that video, go through my feed and look for it. The Bitcoin chart no one is discussing, and there was a follow-up video. But anyway, this, in terms of pulling up one chart, okay, because this is step one. If you want one chart pulled up to watch, to ascertain of a trend truly changing within the entire market in Bitcoin, this is the chart, okay? This is the chart. And what's not good to see, let me explain this to you in layman's terms, and let me know, anyone in the comment section here, let me know if this isn't making sense, because I really need to be clear on this so that you understand it. Price here, what was really encouraging to see back here was that price got above the 50. And what began to happen was we were coiling up in between these moving averages. It was no surprise that we weren't breaking above the 200 and we were holding the 50 as support once we got back above here. We were just going zigzag, right? This was not good to see when we dropped down. Not only is it not good to see because price has gone down, that's not the only reason. The reason this is not good to see is because look at the moving averages. They're curling down. This is very bad. This is not good to see. The more price kind of hangs out down here, the more we go low, a high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high. Not only is it negative for price and it's bearish for price, it's bearish for the moving averages. We do not want these moving averages crossing down. It's very bad. What we need to see, what we really need to see, we don't need to jump up here and get above the 200 SMA right away. We don't need to see that. That's not what we need to see. The more important thing, in my opinion, what you want to watch for in this chart, we need to negate this lower high. We need to get up here, and we just need to start building bullish, not bullish, we need to start building price structure in an area up here. Because what that's going to do, not only are we negating lower lows and lower highs, in my opinion, the equally important thing is that what it's going to cause is it's going to cause these moving averages to flatten out, and then naturally, if price continues increasing, to curl up, to flatten out and curl up. And once we get above the 200 SMA, that's what will really cause both moving averages to continue curling up. Think about this for a second. Why would moving averages begin to curl up, flatten out and curl up if price is increasing? Why would that happen? Well, the reason is because the more recent price action is increasing in value. It's getting higher. And the moving averages are just that. They're averages. They're averages of the more recent price action. So the 50 SMA is the average of 50 of these candlesticks. So the more we go up, right, and price increases, it's going to hit the 50 SMA harder first because it's based on the first 50 candlesticks. Now the 200, that's based on like 200 candlesticks. So the fact if we start increasing, because it's based on 200 candlesticks, this doesn't have as much of an immediate impact. Okay, so it's going to take a little bit longer to flatten out and begin to curl up. The 50 is going to have more of an immediate impact because it's only based on the more recent price action, the 50 candlesticks. So we need price, okay? Let me know if my explanation, drop a comment if that did not make sense. Drop a comment if you appreciate the explanation and it made sense. By the way, for anyone new that joined, like my friend John here, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget, as a content creator, that shit is very important. So as a viewer, while I can think back in the day, while sometimes that would get annoying hearing the podcasters or listening to people on YouTube say that, sometimes that would get a little annoying. It is extremely important from a content creator perspective that I get engagement, I get the comments, I get the likes, and subscriptions, because that stuff is going to help to, you know how he says spread awareness and carry the education forward? That's going to help me to spread awareness and carry education forward, because it's going to reach a broader audience. So, hey, Steady, welcome in, buddy. Thank you for joining. Hit the little thumbs up button. I see a few of you have joined and not hit the thumbs up button, so make sure you do that. Need a little bit of support, brothers. Are there any ladies in here? I only see my fellow brothers, my fellow crypto brothers. So anyway, on this 12-hour chart, what you want to do is we need to negate these lower lows and lower highs. We need to start getting up in this area. We need to get up in this area, and we need to have these starting to flatten. And then as price action gets above the 200 SMA, that's when we can start to see these things curl up and get the golden cross, where the 50 goes above the 200 SMA. So the 12-hour chart is the first thing, step one, and it's the thing that you really need to be watching like a hawk, because if you follow that Bitcoin chart no one is watching, what you would realize is these fake outs at the time, okay, at the time when we got this golden cross, okay, this had not begun to curl up. The 200 had sort of flattened. But the amount of times we get a gold after price action on the 12-hour chart has broken below the 200, and we get back above it and we see a cross like this, and the 200 is not decreasing, but it's actually sort of flattened out. The fact that we went down again, that event is very rare. Where it's more likely that you would see this sort of price action and a break below is that the 200 was still curling down and maybe the 50 sort of crossed above it. Then you see this sort of price action. But the fact that the 200 flattened out, this was not a very likely scenario. This is more likely that we would have seen the 200 begin to curl up and we would have seen continued movements up. So I say that to say that once price action gets above the 200 SMA, we should start to feel cautiously good. Once we see the 50 get above the 200 SMA, we raise an eyebrow, you know? We get a little drink, maybe ready. But once we see both moving averages curling up, we're starting to feel pretty fucking good. We're checking off step one, and we're on to step two, and you can watch the video for step 2 and step 3. Then we're feeling pretty good. All right, other charts that actually, let me get to the comments real quick here. Only when he asks for your private key. Oh, in relation to being honest? Yeah. Yeah, if anybody wants to drop their social security number or private key, please feel free. That reminds me, I said I was going to text somebody about something, and that reminded me of a conversation I had with someone last week. Cheers, I was listening and playing some chess. Sorry for the delayed response. Oh, brother, go ahead and play away, man. I appreciate the multitasking. I'm just glad you tuned in. For everyone new joining in, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. I'm not seeing any more love come my way, any more likes, and I know there's more people that are listening. So not really sure why you can't take your finger or your elbow and just fucking click the button. So anyway, you know, I don't know how many more times I can talk about this chart. Again, my hope is there are certain charts that I cover on this channel that you're so fucking sick of me talking about. Because what that means, what it should mean, is that you should have a firm understanding of what it is I'm speaking to, and it should come very natural to you. Like, yes, CBG, we know, okay? We know what you're saying is... We know what you're saying is that we had a touch here and a touch here and a touch here. We've had three separate occasions where this zone was touched. It's getting really weak. And so it looks like we're going to hit it a fourth time. More than likely, it's going to break. Like, this stuff should come really natural to you. So again, once again, no one is talking about this on Twitter. Like, I really don't understand why. This is a basic premise in charting. We hit this 39.9% to 39.3. We hit it once. We hit it twice. We hit it 3 times with 5 different candlesticks. And now we're just getting ready to hit it for a 4th separate time. This area is getting weak, and it's a bear pennant. It's a motherfucking bear pennant, okay? That's all it is a technical target. Like, I'm not, uneducated people that come at me and tell me that this chart is hopium, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're literally just trolling me. This is a technical pattern. I could draw this on Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, Cardano, whatever the hell chart. If this presented itself, it's telling me the same thing. This isn't my natural bias, okay? This isn't a natural bias for me to say that things are getting bullish and we can expect more upside. I would like more upside, but what this chart is telling me is, wow, it looks like we could see a lot of upside. Look, let me just illustrate this point. Back here, this is going to get really messy. Sorry, but this is a 12-hour chart, and this is going to look a little messy, but we'll deal with it. I wanted to believe, my bias wanted to believe that this price action here was not bearish. But I was one of the few people, very few people I saw, that looked at this pattern here and said, this is nothing bullish. This is a motherfucking descending triangle. And look what happened. We broke down, okay? So if there's something bearish that is presenting itself in this chart, I'm going to be honest with everyone, I'm going to be honest with everyone and tell them that, okay? But that's not what happened. What happened was a pattern has now presented itself that has a higher likelihood of breaking down. And I've drawn the technical target. The technical target for Bitcoin dominance, okay, and if it's going to play out, it's going to play out some point more than likely in 2023. But the technical target is at around 22%. I have it drawn at 22.5. Maybe it's 22 or 23, but I have it drawn at 22.5, right? Now, that might be hard to believe, but I'm actually going to say with 100% confidence, I'll say with 99.9% confidence, when Bitcoin dominance was way up here, and even when it fell here, okay, and we started rising, no one thought we would have plummeted down here, okay? And this was back in 2017 and 18, down at 36, 35%. If you don't even want to look at this chart and you just want to forget for a moment what it is that I'm sharing with you, even though it's just factual empirical data, if you want to forget it for a moment, I'm out of my drink. And this is where I wish somebody was here. They could pour me a second drink, but alas, I'm here by myself. Hey, if there's any ladies in the audience that want to huddle up and, live with CBG and make me some drinks during the happy hour, please let me know because I could use that. But anyway, even if you want to remove all of the empirical evidence that I'm providing to you, let's just ask ourselves a question. If Bitcoin dominance during the last bull run ran all the way down to 35, 36%, right? And now we have many more projects in this space that add a lot more utility and are not a threat to Bitcoin or are not competing with Bitcoin, but a lot of bigger projects in the space with a lot more money backing it. Now, I know Bitcoin's growing, but if we have a lot more competition in the altcoin space, don't you think it makes sense that a lot of those altcoins, as we run and we go into a parabola and we have mass euphoria, wouldn't it make sense that a lot of the money is going to go into those areas and steal market share from Bitcoin? There's just going to be mass euphoria in there, and we're not going to hit lows that are much lower than we've seen here. That here we might have hit 35%, but in the next run we might hit 22%. Wouldn't that just make sense just intuitively? So again, this is a chart I'm watching. Last thing that you should be watching too. Last thing I'll comment on here. Look how close we got to touching. This candlestick, this is on a weekly view. This candlestick went down to 39.94%. And technically, I have it drawn there, but technically, it actually touched here. I should have this like this. Okay, 6 candlesticks. So this touched 39.89. So you could argue that we've essentially touched it, but really we're 0.1% off, so we have not touched it. Once we get in this zone, me personally, once we get in this zone, I am going to be feeling so motherfucking bullish about what is to come. And this isn't once we touch, and I emphasize this in the video, and the video for this one was, I forget. I don't know which video this was. This was, I forget. Which video was this? Okay. This video, couldn't look at it. This video was, wow, I've done a lot of videos. It wasn't Health Check. It was Bitcoin and crypto set to shock the world. Bitcoin and crypto set to shock the world. So this is the one that you're going to want to watch. And I speak to dominance. But in there, basically, where I was going with this is going to take many months to play out. So when we touch in here, I'm going to be very excited because to me, more than likely, what it doesn't definitively signal, but in my head, it most likely definitively signals is even if it takes 10 months to play out, we are going to be going massively lower in Bitcoin dominance. So keep an eye on Bitcoin dominance. The last chart we're going to take a look at, I have been tweeting out about. This is the DXY. I don't know what else to say about the DXY. I've been going on and on about the DXY. You know what? Let's just, I'm not gonna repeat myself. We're gonna go back to Twitter. Does everyone here follow me on Twitter, by the way? Woo! Nature Boy. Check out the Harmony Protocol check out the Harmony Protocol news with the Nature Boy Ric Flair. I was excited about that. Let's get into where I was going. Okay, so I had tweeted this out. If you're not following me on Twitter, does everyone follow me on Twitter? At Crypto Bull God. There were 3 charts that I was pointing out. First is the 3-day with negative divergence. That's this chart. As you can see, price is moving up, but we're going lower on the RSI. There's also a descending triangle playing out on the RSI. So what this is saying in layman's terms is as the dollar has been increasing in value and gaining higher highs and higher lows, the strength behind those movements is getting weaker and weaker. What this is telling us is that price is running out of steam, that we're still, the dollar is still climbing in value. We're still, look at all these wicks. We're still climbing up. We're still climbing up. We double topped. We're still climbing up, but we're running out of gas. And if we're running out of gas, it's like a plane that's running out of gas. It just needs to sort of drop. And then maybe it regains its footing. And then it drops. And then it regains its footing and it drops. So the DXY can remain overheated for a long period of time. The DXY or any other asset can remain oversold for an extended period of time. But what we're looking for, as Crypto Bringer would often make fun of me for, are breadcrumbs. And the breadcrumbs are, number 1, on the 3-day chart, we're running out of steam. Number 2, this sort of looks like a Nike swoosh. This is a parabola, and it's a beautiful thing on the way up, but it's awesome on the way down when it crashes. So we have a parabola. And we also have this, look at this 2-week key price level at 97 showing confluence with the descending line on the RSI. Check this out. So we have a descending line on the RSI. And we also, look at all this price confluence right around 97. It's either resistance or support. Once we broke, see the RSI here? It broke out of the descending line of resistance, back tested and went up. When did that happen? At 97. So I'm theorizing that basically the other thing I'm theorizing here is that it's shown in the arrows. Once the DXI truly does break down and breaks the psychological level of 100, it's going to hit 97. Maybe the RSI bounces around this point, kind of have a little bounce. Once we break, the RSI is going to break too. It's really going to begin to run out of momentum and steam. Remember, parabolas are like a tree with no branches. Versus, and this is why I don't want Bitcoin's price to run so hard, versus healthy price action consolidation on the way up, where you're creating higher highs and higher lows so that when price does fall, So when price falls, it has things to catch on to. It can kind of catch on versus a parabola is just like a straight line down. So that's all I have from a TA perspective. So what questions does everyone have for me as a technician in the space? Dollar milkshake theory, Brendan. So I know, not only have I heard about it, I've read about it, and quite frankly, I forget the specifics with the dollar milkshake theory. But what your comment is making me think is that you don't need to explain what it means. What your comment is making me think is that I'm going to take the opportunity this week to refresh my memory on what the dollar milkshake theory is. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I agree, Bitcoin dominance does look very weak, which is what I was just speaking to. It's on my list, Brendan. I have not deep dive. I have not done a deep... I have not... That's what happens when you're live. I have not done a deep dive into Casper yet. A very surface level understanding of the project. Very surface level. And I have not done a deep dive. If you have any suggestions of any areas to research, send me a DM on Twitter. I'm really bad at responding to DMs, so I'll make sure to put a look out there for DMs. You follow me on Twitter? Yeah, you do. Because excuse me, I think you've messaged me. What's up, Jordan? You're a little late to the party, but glad to have you here. Make sure everybody new tuning in to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. You DM me about your live feed. So you DM me about my live feeds and I never answered you? Yeah, that's not shocking because I'm really bad at responding to DMs. By the way, for the few people who are listening right now and the people that were listening to this recording later, I want to explain something to you. Never take it personal. And I'm not saying anyone here is, but I want to explain myself to you very clearly. I could not be any more clear. Never take it personal if I don't respond to you in a DM. I'm not ignoring you. It's the byproduct of having a busy life, prioritizing my life in different ways to make sure I'm getting the things done that I need to get done, which I'm sure everyone here can appreciate. And DMs are at the very low end of the totem pole. So if you sent me a DM I haven't responded to, it's nothing personal. I appreciate you reaching out. I just, I have other shit going on. A lot of career stuff at the moment and still trying to balance getting all this stuff out and maintaining a personal life, a social life to try to get out and do things as well. So, but I'll check when I have some time. I'm sure I'll have some time this weekend because we have, Labor Day, we have an extended weekend off. If most companies are off. People have off on Labor Day. And I'm sure shit not going to the beach. If there's any day, like I have a high degree of flexibility with my job, which I'm extremely thankful for. So if I want to go to the beach, shit, I'll just go on like a Tuesday. I might go on a Saturday or Sunday or something like that. But especially holidays, like I will avoid going to somewhere like the beach on like a holiday like this. It's going to be so crowded. Like there's no part of me that's going to want to go out and do something like that. In fact, I have plans, like I said, I have plans tomorrow and I have tentative plans Friday. I mean, I'm fine staying in Saturday and Sunday. Maybe I'll get together with someone on Sunday or something because we have off on Monday. But I'm fine staying in on the weekend by myself. I'm fine with that because it's going to be so crowded out. Not a big fan of large crowds. Okay, so you want about telling me what you DM'd me about anyway. So, okay. Yeah, it's kind of hard. So does everyone else agree? Is it helpful? Let me see if I can do this right now. Is it helpful if I do this? Because I can change it on the spot. Is it helpful if I move the video to the upper right-hand corner of the screen? Because I can certainly do that. I mean, that's not an issue whatsoever. It's kind of annoying because, to be honest with you, I'd be perfectly comfortable doing everything without me being on video. I don't need to be on video. It's not like I'm seeing you and it's not like we both can see each other and have a conversation, right? It's just more personal. It's more personable to see my face, see my smiling face. How's everybody doing? And you know that I'm a real human being. So that's why I do it. But if my face is going to be on the screen, just let me know if it's more helpful. I can be in the upper right-hand corner. Brendan thinks it's more helpful if I'm in the right-hand corner. For the rest of the people listening, John, I'm looking to you. Steady, I'm looking to you. Jordan, I'm looking to you. Anybody else, I'm looking to you. Kevin, I'm looking to you if you're still on. I think that's everyone. Is there anyone that has not dropped a comment that is listening right now that has not identified themselves? But is it more helpful if I'm in the upper right-hand corner of the screen? Because I can, shit, if there's no disagreements, I'll just do it on the next video and see if anybody says anything. Steady. Great question. Watch my last video. Literally the video I uploaded yesterday. There is a huge amount of positive correlation with the S&P. What does that mean? So what that means, the SPX. So in general, there is a massive amount of positive correlation between crypto and the stock market, okay? A positive correlation means if one is going up, the other's going up. If one's going down, the other one's going down. Negative correlation would be the opposite. They move in opposite directions. There's positive correlation for sure. All right, John thinks it's helpful as well. Frankie is tardy for the party. Frankie, you like my little face in the upper right-hand corner of the screen? I was about to say my little fat face, but I don't have a fat face, so I have a rather slender face. What do you think, Frankie? You like it in the upper right-hand corner of the screen? Hey, by the way, I've only had 2 people identify what their... thank you for the flexibility, John. I think that... all right. I think that there's only 2 people who I've identified what they're having to drink during this happy hour. That's a pretty shitty job, guys. I got to say, I appreciate the support, but 2 people have identified what they're drinking. I got a White Russian and I have a coffee. Nobody else has said jack shit. So if we're sitting around a table right now, and I wish that was the case and we could actually have a conversation, if we were sitting around a table right now, I would see what you're drinking. Loop me in here. What is everybody drinking? And before I sign off and have myself a nice, quiet, relaxing evening, I'm not doing anything this evening. I'm planning on chilling like a villain. So before I lay myself down and relax, are there any charts that you would like me to take a look at? No, I didn't say charts. I said charts. Charting is bad. We don't want to chart. We want to chart. Any charts? Any charts? Nobody wants me to take a look at anything? We don't... I know I just did the Bitcoin Crypto Weekly close, so I looked at a shit ton of charts. Nothing's really changed since then, so unless there's something new, All right. If nobody has anything else, I am going to close things out. We've been on this live stream for 1 hour and 16 minutes. I think that's about enough time. Wait, hold on a second here. If I was in your time zone, I would be drinking a Caribbean rum neat. Nice. All right. That reminds me of cruises. I used to go on... I was with someone for I dated someone for a few years, and we used to go on all these cruises together. It was actually a lot of fun. I would encourage anyone... it's funny because she had to talk me into going to cruises because I never thought... you go for a lime margarita, nice. That's what I think I'm going to do tomorrow when I go out. I'm going to go for a margarita. I'm feeling it. But I never pictured myself as a cruise person. Like, why the hell would I want to go on a vacation and be on a cruise ship, like stuck on a ship? Well, let me tell you, the ship in itself is a fucking resort, and there's plenty of shit to do. And if you like drinking, well, you're in good shape. CBG might be really healthy and he might exercise a lot and all these things, but CBG does like to drink. He likes to have himself a good time, and cruise ships present that opportunity. Not only were we on Royal Caribbean cruises, did we do those a lot, but this person was also like a Diamond Club member or whatever, so we would get into all these happy hours, and we get free alcohol and free hors d'oeuvres and stuff. So it was a fun time. I wish I could still do that stuff. I could do it. I'd have to accumulate points. And I'm sure shit not going by myself. But I'd encourage you, look into cruises if you have not. Apparently Royal Caribbean has just come out with a brand new cruise ship. that sounds phenomenal. Phenomenal. So I'm going to have to check that out. But that's all I got. I don't want to chart, but I'll keep on charting. Salsa, I've had no time for. Literally, yeah, I have not had any time for it. That, I'm not making excuses. That sort of fell by the wayside because right as I started taking lessons, at the time I started taking lessons, I then went away. I went up to North Florida, and I was in North Florida for a while. Then we were going up to the Carolinas and Georgia, and all the stuff came up with the crypto bull goddess's grandmother and her health. And so I was away for I don't know how many weeks it was, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. There's just been a lot going on, and so I haven't had time for the salsa. So, but that is still, that salsa, golf lessons. I still have that guy's contact information. Every week I say I'm going to reach out to him and take golf lessons, and I still haven't. Salsa and golf lessons are at the top of my list, and at some point I'm going to get into Elliott wave analysis and become a pro technician at Elliott wave. You're going to see me tweeting things out with all the wave counts. Your wife will give me online lessons? Oh, Christ, if I really want to embarrass myself, all right, I'll DM you. She'll give me online lessons. All right. I mean, I'm at least willing to listen. All right. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you to everyone. Even if you joined late like Jordan or John or Frankie, I don't really care. What matters is that you made the time to show up, and it really does mean a lot to me, and I hope that I'm helping you out. So I'm not sure. I don't think I'm going to get another TA video out this week. Look for one next week. Next week could personally be a very exciting week for me. I'll hold off on sharing why. We will cross our fingers, and we will see how next week goes. Could be a very exciting week for me, so we'll see. But until next time, thank you, everyone. Really, thank you so much. Until next time, spread awareness and carry the education forward. I am out. Peace out. Love to all.